the desk
And
down. No problem.
We
I
played
tried
for
to
like
move it
2
6
hours.
inches and I turned around. Board of Education. Today is Thursday, March 12th, 2026, and the time is 4:00 p.m. We are meeting at the Alpine School District offices. All board members are present except Board Member Thieler and Board Member Brammer. We are thrilled to have Jake McDonald here to present to our board about printing services, and we're still smiling about our field trip that we had and enjoying all the fun swag that he shared with us. And we will turn the time over to you, Jake.
We have a few more people that need swag now.
This is true.
I did put my stickers on all the things. So, it worked.
My kids like to call the stickers and put it on the wall.
Do you know what, Jake, while
My
you're
4-year-old.
While you're getting ready, we have to say welcome to this front row. We are so excited, and I need to shake your hand. Yeah, we are thrilled to have you here. Thank you for supporting us.
And next study session, you can join us at the table.
They can't wait. That's what they always wanted.
I want a seat at the
A seat at the
table.
table. Exactly.
See, they want to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah. Well, they get to be in the room where it happens. Just
Jason.
throw behind.
All right, and Jason has joined us. We're glad you're here. You had a big day.
It was good.
Okay.
And it was Brendan Sanderson.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Darn.
He was our keynote. He was very good.
You know, took lots of pictures, sent to my family.
So you were there too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Chance to go to these conferences. Yeah. I need to go and change this. We need to make sure they have the right graphic for us.
Okay, never have I ever. Let's start.
Okay.
And the worst about.
We have
a birthday girl here.
Let's sing while we wait.
Oh, you're on? Okay, I'll get on.
48 this year.
He's on. So close.
So close.
So close. My kids say grandmas are 39 and moms are 29, so
I like
there you
it.
go. You're holding.
Hey, I like my age. I'm good.
I
Right there's great.
For years,
Okay.
you
Hard
always said he was
earned, and
39.
I
Do you need me to grab your chair?
No, I'm okay.
I remember after a while, I'm like,
Last
this is-
year it was 6, 7, you know, but it's
Yeah.
Oh, Diane dodged a bullet. Okay.
Hey guys. 6, 7. It's all I hear from my,
I know.
I
was retired
kids.
before that.
There you go. Yeah.
No, thanks for having me to talk about printing services a little bit. And I'm sorry in advance if I repeat myself with some of the stuff I talked about on your guys' little tour. So a little bit of just who we are, myself, Jake. I have one printing assistant, and that is Jolene, and then I have a full-time wide format technician, and that's Wendy, and then a full-time machine operator, that's Katie, and then 3 part-time office assistants that kind of just pick up everywhere else. But that's a little bit about who we are. Printing services is a self-funded department, and my revenue that we bring in does cover all of the expenses associated with it. A couple of things, what is included is my salary, the Jolene as the assistant, the printing technicians, the 2 full-time technicians that are non-contract, and then the 3 office assistants. The only thing that the department program does not cover is facilities and utilities. So a building rental or a building rental utility cost. Who we service, a little bit about who the print shop does service is, of course, Alpine School District, Provo School District, charter schools, PTA organizations, and of course the employees. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm hitting too fast. And the employees. I didn't put this on here, but we do offer, I don't advertise to any type of public entity. However, if a public entity did walk in, I would not turn them away. It's very, very minimal about who comes in. I can count on one hand at how many, companies or local places come in and want something done. So it's not word that it's out there, but if somebody did walk in, I have not in the past turned them away. It's just, we've looked at it that's just additional revenue going on into the program. But as far as advertising out externally, we do not do
Price
that.
would be
So.
different, Jake, for
So
external versus
yes, so
ones?
great question. Non-district, any type of non-district work is, except for like if an employee needed something done, and it's always been in the past that they're an employee, so it's kind of a perk they can use and self-pay. But if any type of non-district, so Provo School District, charter schools, or if somebody else needed something done that was external, like a business or something, it is about a 5% markup. So non-district is marked up. We do have an ATEC partnership with ATEC, the East location. This has been going since about 2020, and it's something that myself and my team absolutely love. Those kids just bring a light to our day, and I think would like to think and hope to think that we bring a light to their day. They do love printing. They love their job in printing, and we're super grateful that we're able to have this partnership, but also just it's our own students. It's not just someone else coming in. We're helping our own schools with teaching them a skill and a task, and how to interact. They come from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Monday through Thursday. They do have a job coach that accompanies them, so it doesn't take a lot of our time, away from our duties to have them in our office. And the same job coach has been with them for probably 4 years, so she knows the routines and what goes on. And then we do get a new group of students at the semester change. So it's not, once a month or something. That's the same kids we get pretty permanent for each semester. So that makes it nice because they get to know the routines as well. And that's something we hope that we can continue with whatever happens with transitional schools or anything. We would love to keep that going. A little bit about printing, the inventory we have here in printing services. I have 6 full production black and white machines, 2 production full color machines, 2 self-serve machines. I did not really touch much on self-serve. We implemented that about 4 years ago, where there was a need for teachers, or it was really when we moved down into that building, so it might have been about 5 years ago that we implemented it. But there was a need with presenters needing last minute copies, or a PTA member would come in and just want something to walk out with, and that's kind of not how we were set up. We were set up where you needed to place an order because we were doing high volume stuff. So these little jobs were just taking too much to interrupt what was going to get them taken care of. So what I did is we decided to come up with a self-serve where they could come in and just use the machines, and then they just pay for the usage. Walk in, print what they need, and then they walk out with it. And so that's been nice, just to get those needs taken care of when it's something they need right away, and they don't have to wait for an order. We do limit it just because if it was a huge job, they would be there all day on that machine. It doesn't run the speeds that we can get something taken care of. So we do limit it to 500 or so copies, but that's what the self-serve is. Our wide format area, we have 1 banner machine. We have 1 flatbed, which is a UV printer that will print on any substrate that is flat, or flat. That's the easiest way to explain. I guess I could do like a cup or something, but it can do something that's 6 inches in height. And that's what we do all of our banners, yard signs, foam core, parking signs, any type of metal signage, any of that. 2 poster machines, and then we have 1 machine that is a sticker machine. We call it the sticker machine. It would do a little bit more than stickers, but we strictly use it for stickers. It cuts at the same time as it prints. So we have multiple finishing equipment, but to run through this really quickly, we have 1 machine that prints strictly envelopes. We have a folder, a drill press, a saddle stitch, Duplo cutter slitter creaser. That's a machine that auto cuts business cards and all 5x7 invitations, stuff like that. A Duplo booklet finisher, a guillotine cutter, 2 Coilmatics, which are auto coilers, and then we have our tabletop coilers as well. As far as our inventory goes, we have all of our paper stocks, our bindings, our vinyl stock, our poster stock, and then just all the supplies that go with that. We do have one delivery vehicle, so we have a fleet of one delivery van. So, and if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me or tell me to stop or whatever.
So do you do your own deliveries with that van, or is that?
So district mail deliveries we use district mail service right now. In the summer months, we do our own deliveries. Where district mail shuts down to a one-man show in the summer months, we've always have just done our own deliveries in the summer months. And the summer months are super heavy, and so it's hundreds and hundreds of cases per week that we're sending out. So we don't expect the one-man show to help with that. So. This is just a slide with some pictures of our equipment. A lot of our machines do look the same because we have multiple of the same type of model. But that's some of our equipment. This is a product sheet that I put together of just some examples of kind of the stuff we actually do. We are a full service print shop. So this in the last 5 years since I've taken over as supervisor, my vision was to take it from a copy room per se to like an actual printing center. So we implemented a lot of wide format options, and that's where we're able to do. On the left, it's the Hadestown. That's a Corex or a foam core. You can't tell from the picture, but the Cedar Valley Drink Shack, all of that signage came from us. So that's where you can see like metal signage or any type of that. And banners, of course, anything from certificates to business cards to just standard copies, all the way up to the specialty stuff. So that's kind of fun. This is just a fun little printing by the numbers. We print over 7,000 cases of 8.5 by 11 and over 2,400 cases of 11 by 17 a year. We print over 3,000 feet of wide format substrate per month. And we coil bind over 600,000 books per year. We process about 2,500 orders per month. We average a little over 100 orders a day on average that are coming in, and we use over 1,000 bottles of ink and toner in a year. So that's just some kind of fun little facts. We are a pop and shop. The operational cost for the 24-25 fiscal year was $370,397.40. So, and all that included, I kind of went over what is covered in that. But again, all the salaries, everything except for building utilities and building rental. The utility cost in the ALC each month is $38,2317. So $3,823.17. I think they're on an equal payment. That's what I was told. So that doesn't fluctuate every month. That's what I heard from physical facilities. I don't know if that's right or wrong. So if that's the case, what would my portion be? I don't know. That's something we'd have to look at because, I've never had to worry about that within my budget. But that's the number for that for the utility. This is a graph of just our revenue over the past 6 years, and our net profit. So the blue is the revenue, and the gray is the net profit. The revenue we brought in this last year for this last fiscal year was just about 1.45 million, is what we brought in, and the net profit was about 440,000. So we're seeing that kind of trend over the last 3 years. As you see, it's when we've kind of, as the graph starts to go up, but we anticipate that should stay about the same. There has been some costs that I've gotten some new equipment, and so that might not be as high this year, but we anticipate that staying about the same. I don't think, I don't foresee it going way down per se. So I don't think it'll go super extremely high, but I don't think it'll go way down either. So. As far as shared services is what we've kind of been, I've kind of been told that I would be servicing, employed by Aspen Peaks and sharing the services with Timpanogos and Lake Mountain. Profit sharing has come up with that net profit that we do bring in. Revenue tracking is something that we've talked about where and I think I mentioned this to you guys when we did that small tour. If we're housing it, if Aspen Peaks and I'm employed by Aspen Peaks, do we share that profit with them, or where we cover the building expense, the building rentals? I don't know how that could look. There's a couple of different variables that could look like. But if we did do the revenue, what we could do revenue tracking, where I could, if 40% of the work is coming in from Aspen Peaks, then or what I just threw 40% out there, but 40% of that profit should go back to Aspen Peaks. and so forth for the other districts. If a district wanted or needed their own print department and didn't want to service, use Aspen Peaks any longer, they could technically take some of that profit share and save that and then fund their own print center if they wanted it to be set up exactly like we have. I anticipate, again, there's a couple variables that go in that, as far as if the revenue is steady each year or if it's not, but I anticipate it would take them about 5 years of saving that to fund their shop. The billing software, the software that we use, generates a spreadsheet that I give to accounting. So as far as shared services, that would just pretty much do the same thing, and I would, the software would work seamlessly for 3 districts. Or if the districts didn't want to do it that way, I could invoice them just like I do charter schools or Provo School District. But as far as that software, I don't know if I touched on this at all, but my system will allow it to have their own site, their own web page, so it looks like each district. It doesn't look like Timpanogos is going to order from Aspen Peaks. It looks like it's, it'll look like it's custom for them with their logo. Same thing with Lake Mountain. Of course, the main site would all be Aspen Peaks, if that's where I'm ending up. As far as deliveries with shared services, that's a couple of things I've thought through. If I don't know what shared services are going to be shared or what not, but I could do a delivery service myself. A member of the printing team could deliver everything out to one centralized location. So like their district office, and then it would be up to that district to deliver their stuff out. Of course, if Aspen Peaks, if we're using with the couriers or anything like that, I don't foresee any issue with that changing how it is now. But I could deliver to one location, and then it would be up to that specific district to distribute it out to their schools. Or as always, they can always come pick up items. That happens pretty regularly as well. One more thing I wanted to touch on that I didn't quite know how to, I didn't want to make it super dirty on a slideshow, but when it comes to shared services, I do have some thoughts as far as keeping it everyone priority. Obviously Aspen Peaks, if that's where I'm employed, I would want to make sure everyone, would feel that they were all priority, because right now it's all Alpine and everyone's priority, right? But I wouldn't want that to fill, somebody coming in, let's say all the boards needed something, all 3 school boards needed something timely, I would do my best to get everything done, everything shot, gets out as quickly as possible. But some thoughts with that is I have enough machines to filter the work out to have each district have basically 2 machines. So like every school district would have, each school district would have their, and there's breakdowns and stuff, but for the most part, I would have an employee, 3 employees that would oversee each district. So there was a point of contact for each district, and then they would follow through with that district. So if somebody was inquiring about an order, I didn't have to, transfer them all over and try to, Jake, what was this, or who was this, or Wendy, or whatever. Just then they know everything for Timpanogos goes through this technician, and then they process everything out. And then when there's downtime on equipment, of course we can split it up, right? But that's kind of a little bit of my thoughts as far as making sure everybody feels like they're priority and they're all taken care of and getting the same service, not that one district's getting more than another or something like that. But overall, I do want to just say shared services does not really hesitate me at all. I have no problems with sharing. I feel like it would be very seamless to service all 3 school districts. As far as volume, that's what I'm doing right now, and it's working just fine.
And
so
you're already at Provo and
right.
And
So as far as like people, because some people, as the split's been talked about, they're like, oh, that would be horrible. That would be so much work, and it's like, not really, because that's what we're doing now, as far as the location. So I don't foresee it being super challenging. I think that it would be very seamless to service all 3. So I just want to make
Jake,
that.
have you looked at the analytics on, does the workload seem to be distributed based similar to the population of students? Or?
So that's kind of good question. That's been asked, I think the last time I presented to you guys early on in last year sometime. And I honestly haven't pinned it down to where, like what district is ordering more of. So yeah, I could really look into that closer if that's something you really wanted to know. I'd be happy to kind of start tracking that and looking at that. But I would have to probably, like right now it's all over. Like I can tell you off the top of my head, like some of my big schools, that see the value and see the cost savings. And I can tell you I do all the curriculum for these handfuls of schools. But as far as like the majority of the work coming from Aspen, Aspen Peaks area, or the majority of the work coming from, I don't have that right now.
No, and
So
that's okay.
yeah.
I think
That's a great question.
if we
though.
move forward, obviously we would, because we would be.
Yeah,
billing
and that's
it,
something that we could
would
track
definitely-
seamlessly with the billings. With when I do the billing downloads, we would see like, okay, this is, the portion.
By necessity, it would be
Right,
tracked.
exactly, would be
Right.
tracked. Yes, yeah.
And
So
can I ask you one more question?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm not
please.
trying to derail. But
No, please.
When you were talking about your equipment, and there were times that you had to buy new equipment, right?
yes,
What, will you go back to,
Yeah.
can you go back to your slides that, right there on that one?
the revenue.
So, yeah, well, next.
Sorry,
Next.
this is too touchy, and then I feel like it. See, I've hit it, and then nothing happens. See, what the heck? See, I touched it.
And it's changed on.
See, it's changing it.
Yeah, and it changed
There we
on
go.
your.
There we
You
go.
don't get to see that
See, it
slide.
changed
Okay,
here,
it's
but it
here.
didn't change
Look, this
that.
is a tech issue. This is it's on here.
That slide, you don't get
So
to see that
looking
slide,
at
Joe, sorry.
slide, the gray bar, which is your
The revenue.
profits, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
profit.
Does that profits, like when it dips, is that because there was equipment purchase, or the purchase of equipment?
So you're talking
not
about from down
considered?
here back in 2020?
Yeah, I'm just trying
Or
to
even
say,
this
can you show us where you bought equipment?
Okay.
on those ones?
So back 2020, back prior to 2020, Print Shop was not doing very well before I took over as supervisor, and so I pulled the. I don't want to claim, sound like I'm me because that's not what I'm trying to do, but I pulled it out of the hole when Rob when he hired me said you got to fix this, and so basically we got all of the schools using and utilizing the service that printing offers, and in return it showed when it's not that I just don't want it to sound like we are charging our schools too much money, because that is not the case. There's because that's been brought up in the past as well, and that is not the case at all. It's just when you get the whole district using us, you're going to have somewhat of a profit a little bit. So I don't know if that answers your question also, but as far as purchasing equipment, I've been able to cover the cost. I've only purchased a lot of equipment in the last 2 years, and we've been able to cover the cost of that. So like last year I purchased quite a bit of, a couple $100,000 in equipment, 150, I don't know off the top of my head, 150,000, and we still brought in a $440,000 revenue with that.
So that does
or
include
excuse me,
purchases.
we've still brought in a $440,000 profit. So yeah, does that kind of answer
yeah,
that?
that's
Like,
great.
I do think this year it might be a little this year it might not be as high. I don't foresee it being super low, and I shouldn't even say that as of right now because I really don't know. I'm just thinking I've had a little bit more. I did keep I hired 2 additional part-timers this year, and so the payroll might be a little offset there, but usually the revenue, as we've seen, if there's more expense, the revenue kind of increases, and it just it's kind of a wash. So yeah, that could change as later goes on though. But
You mentioned before about maybe the individual copiers in individual schools, that you could get a better price.
yes, that was on my
each
very
school.
last slide. This is the very last thing I had, and the only thing I just wanted to put on here was I suggest maybe looking at combining printing services and district mail services into a single unified department to improve efficiency, but reduce costs and enhance delivery service across the district. There's a couple things that would come with this. In the past, I don't want to hit too much on this, but it's been a little bit of a mess with district mail, and it's because they, and maybe I shouldn't say this. My boss is over here, so you can throw a dart at me, Eric. But there are a lot of older people in there, and they don't like the heavy load that comes with printing. And
Careful.
if you look at
Diane, you're a spring chicken.
but it's been talked, and it's been a battle. I've been in printing for 21 years, and it's been a battle all 21 years with the district mail service. It really has. They always are complaining about it's too much, and really it's not. We give them maybe 5 cases per route. So that's not 5 cases per school that they're going to. That's 5 total cases per route that they're delivering to. So it's like, anyway, it's just been a little bit of a mess. And my question always was, why do they report to purchasing? And nobody could really answer that. They said, well, it's just kind of where they landed. It's where they were at. So I just suggest with change in the new school district, maybe looking at possibly, putting them under printing, and then that would also balance the workload out, but also put a couple of employees, that I could share some employee sharing, where they work under printing, but then they, work in the mail or something like that. There's a couple of things how that could look. But I would, and I just want to add to that they have been in higher education and in, so almost all colleges and school districts, print and mail is one department. So, and I oversee the postal and regulations with the district bulk permits and the postal accounts. And so part of me is kind of like, why, if there's a mail separate department, that kind of should fall under mail. But I've always oversaw that. So that's just another thing, that I'd be happy to take on if that's something that would, be entertained. And as well, back to Diane's comment, I don't want to touch too much on this just because there's a lot of factors in this as well, but printing services, having printing services for the entire district, obviously I'm speaking for Aspen Peaks, not these other two that would share the service, but having printing services oversee print for the entire district. Reality is print is going on in the schools. Nothing would change. They could still have all that print going at the schools, but having it sourced with one vendor versus 20 vendors, you're gonna save money. From a budget standpoint, it would save money.
So are you saying having the schools would have the same vendor as what the print
Yes,
services has?
yes. So print
Instead of their
services
own
oversee.
contract
Yes,
machine?
yes. So like they'd still have their machines. They'd
They
still
don't
have
outsource them
everything.
for this school
Yes,
and
yes,
retail for that
exactly,
school.
exactly. You're gonna get more at a better rate if I went in and said, okay, I'm gonna put I have 20 of these machines on a service contract versus one here, two here, this, wherever else. So from a cost and budget saving, and a lot of, I don't want people to think, well, that could really affect, my teachers aren't going to go for that. Really nothing would change at a school level. Like nothing would change. They would still be able to go down and run their copies. It would just be managed from the print department as far as the contracts and what they and the maintenance and all of that, just from a cost saving standpoint. Because what happens is a lot of schools think that they can walk to their copy room and they can print this for free. I get that all the time. I can't tell you how often I get that. And there's nothing more frustrating for me and my team because it is not free. The school's paying for that out of their supply budget, and so they think, oh, it's free. Well, what's the difference of paying for something out of your supply budget than paying printing? You're still paying that, but they think that since I have to pay I have to pay printing, that it's, that there's not a cost associated with that at the school level. And if the schools were to break down their cost on their equipment versus their paper, because a lot of the schools don't have toner included, they don't have staples included, they don't have all of these included in their service contracts, where I do. If they broke out the cost that they're paying for a technician to run it, or the office aide or whoever to run the copy machine, the toner, the staples, and the paper, I'm cheaper if they just send it to me.
I think
So-
the difference from a teacher standpoint is that different schools charge teachers different amounts.
They
like
do.
Some have open
Yes, the open
printing
stock they
and
call it, or some don't.
Some you're
Yes.
charged
Yes.
or, yeah.
Yeah, and so that could still happen.
Yeah.
That could still happen.
True.
Because
But
there's
I
still a
think
cost
that's the
associated with that.
confusion
Yes.
about
yes.
it's free.
Yeah, and there's a big, if that's something that's something we could get into later. Like I said, I didn't want to touch super big on it, but I'd be happy to put together, go dive deep into this and look at something. But other than that, I didn't have anything else. I just, thank you for inviting me and letting me
Yeah, that's
talk about some
awesome.
stuff. So.
Great insight.
If
Yeah.
I'm summarizing, we're discussing with the other districts what this would look like. So what would you say for a memorandum of understanding, the things that we would need to be concerned about or be thinking about would be
Utilities and
cost of equipment,
Cost of rental building.
I did-
and the
Building
facility.
rental facility.
I did speak with Craig last week. He called me about an MOU, and he was, if I understood him correctly, he was kind of going about it with if they use us for 5 years, there's not going to be any type of you owe me this at the end of the 5 years. So it would stay within Aspen Peaks. So I don't understand exactly how that might be, but he didn't want to have a mess at the end of like the MOU if they only want to use us for 5 years for an agreement and say, okay, well, now this equipment's going here, this equipment's going here, this
Yeah, I think
equipment's
it's
going
better
here.
if we own
He
it.
just said that we would own it. So back to your comment, that's another thing, do we not offer to profit share? And then since, and have Aspen Peaks just continue how it is the Alpine right now, where I don't cover we don't charge me my budget for the building rental or the building utilities, and just say, okay, well then we're keeping that profit. So I don't want to, and that revenue, that profit, B could probably touch a little bit more on this too, but that profit could fluctuate, right? Because, yes, it's the last 3 years we're seeing it about over that 400,000, but you know, like I mentioned with payroll, it might be heavy one year, or I might have a greater need for equipment. Color machines are more expensive than black and white machines. Color machines I have not replaced in the last. I have one machine coming up for, you know, replacement probably next year if possible. So you know, that might be. There's just some factors that I guess those factors aren't set. They could move, you know, with that profit. I always foresee there being a profit, but I don't know. I just don't want to portray that it's going to be $500,000 every year when it might not be $500,000 every year.
Joel, I also think we need to think about, like, if we're going to assign one employee per district, or we're going to do something like, which I think is a great idea, we might want to also have the MOU include, like, who's, like, are they covering that whole salary if that employee is their employee?
Sure.
Like, who
Or would they
owns
be
the
employed by us,
employees?
Yeah.
At
And
the end of the
are we staffed
agreement.
appropriately to divide the work like that, or do we?
Right, and
Right,
at
we
the
want
end
to
of the
work with
agreement, who
professional
owns,
full-time people.
owns is the wrong
Yes.
word, but, you know,
Understood
this
that.
employee, or what percentage of the people and the,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
should all
want
work
to.
for
I didn't know how much you wanted to touch on that, so I didn't want to keep, you know,
well, they
talking
could
on
work
it. But
for us, but does the, like, Lake Mountain's contract include salary for one tech and one part-time person, or, you know, what does their contract include? Is it, anyway.
I get exactly what Amber's saying, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I do think that it's all in that. It's kind of complicated because where I'm already servicing all of the district now, we're seeing that profit. So I think it all comes down to, I still think that the district could cover that cost. Like, my program could cover that cost, because I don't know. I don't know if that makes.
Yeah,
sense.
you
You know what I mean?
Thanks.
So,
Yeah.
but I do want to touch on that too. Back to Joel's comment. The 3 employees. I only have myself and Jolene, my one main assistant, that is contracted, and that's something that I've talked about and wanted to do. Is that, again, that profit share. Like, if I could get 2 more contracts in there. That profit share, you know, or that net profit would decrease a little bit because the contracts, of course, right? I was hopeful that I could possibly get some before all the split, you know, get some contracts. It's been hard to keep on my main machine operator. It's been hard to keep that position staffed because it's a labor
It's not a
intensive job,
contract.
and it's not a contract, and they're doing work of a contracted
It's a full-time
job. It's a full-time. It really is deserving of a contract. It really, really is. So where I am seeing that steady net profit, I think that it's time that maybe we could look at some contracts, but yeah. So anyway, sorry.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah,
No, appreciate it.
yeah,
That was
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thanks for letting me, you know, come and share a little bit about printing. So
No,
if
That's
you have
really
any
helpful.
questions,
Really helpful.
happy to help.
Thank you.
And I will share this out to
Yeah, we
Amber
did
and
like
have her send it out to you guys.
Thank
Awesome.
you, Jake.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. That was
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Does it safe to assume that the other 2 districts have opening? You said we would like to
Yes.
partner share with the
I
printing.
think so.
Because I know there's various departments that are still, we're trying to sort who's going to do what. Has that been, is that?
Nothing has been
Printing, yes.
finalized.
It's
Nothing's
not
been
finalized,
finalized, but it has
but
been part
it's-
of the discussion.
So we're looking at that profit, but the profit doesn't take out the rental of the building or the utility or the whatever. And by the time you take a lot of that into account, then there may not be really anything.
But I think
There
the
still
important
is.
thing is that we're in the black, we're not losing money.
Yes,
on that.
it's not a
Always.
cost.
Okay,
If we were going to profit share, I think all expenses need to be taken out. The utilities, the rental, the
Yeah, for
building, the,
sure, I
like,
would
you know,
agree.
all of that. Like, there's no.
Yeah, true cost.
Yes.
Take that.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's been very helpful, thank you, and thank you, Jake.
Yes, thank you guys.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a presentation on boundary and enrollment projections. And Joel is going to introduce our team that
Absolutely.
is going to present.
Eric, our
Oh,
new associate superintendent.
nice.
Yay!
Chief Learning Officer and teacher. Currently in his current role is
Yeah, which hat are you wearing?
operations.
Apparently with the
Operations today.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you guys, I mean, I want you to be able to see the screen, the presentation. Where's easiest
good.
for us to present, right here?
Here, maybe
Is that
I'll-
okay?
Yeah, maybe I'll move around the corner or something.
I wanted to take a minute, first of all, just to brag on my team a little bit, and I appreciate Jake. He's looking at me now, I've got his attention. Printing doesn't happen without Jake.
And I think one of the things that makes him excellent at what he does is just his ability to form relationships. And I know sometimes he gets nervous up here presenting, but if you see him in his element, especially his staff, they love him. And everybody in the district loves him. And there's a reason why year over year he's continued to increase and innovate in that position. And I appreciate that innovative mindset that he has. We've done the same thing with boundaries. If you want to talk about high intensity, high emotion situations, boundary adjustments. And we've seen that throughout the years, and especially when you're talking about allocation of resources, and in some instances we've closed 6 elementary schools, I believe, district-wide. Every one of those situations comes with a high level of emotion and a level of intensity that you don't see with other things. And there's a reason why, because we love our schools. And when you have that foundation and that connection to a school, anytime you propose to change those boundaries, that's going to come with a level of intensity. We've gotten a lot better over the years as we've continued to do these boundary adjustments. We just did one that was highly complicated with the Dry Creek and Springside boundary. But I think if you talk to that committee, you talk to that community, we even had people afterwards that emailed us thanking us for that process and being so thorough, because we're never satisfied. We're always reflective. But I also want to give credit to my team. So the wizard behind the curtain in a lot of this stuff is Derek Farnes. He is one of those individuals where I will say, look, I want this to happen, and he operationalizes those ideas. And so anytime we do these boundary adjustments, we're constantly reflective and we're looking at ways to get better. Derek is really the one behind the scenes doing all the heavy work to make sure that that happens. And so we will introduce something towards the end of this presentation that I gotta say is, I think, revolutionary. It's really going to change the way that we do boundary adjustments, especially for board members to feel like they've got a seat at the table, to start looking at ways that they can really look at these boundaries and start adjusting themselves. And then it'll direct the work that we do as a committee a little bit better. So with that, Derek, I really do want to pull back the curtain, show you who the wizard is. And I've told Derek, I'm like, this is you today. This is all you. So he is prepared, a really good presentation, and he's ready. So,
Clapping for that.
Thanks. Eric's a little kind sometimes. It's really a team effort, and I mean that in all seriousness, because Eric's great to work with on the team. Even I gotta say, for Jake's been part of the boundary studies in that we have multiple times. I hesitate to admit this, but multiple times reached out to him. Hey, we have an open house, and we just finalized the options we're putting out for this open house. We need these poster boards made, and we need them tomorrow. And without fail, he delivers. So kudos to him and his team. Carrie Lynn helped with this presentation and helps with everything we do in operations, our secretary, and can't speak highly enough of her. And Colin Seastrand has been great as part of the team this year and integral in the boundary studies. So with that said, we're going to jump in. I have done boundary studies ever since I started with the district 18 years ago. And so every single boundary study I've been a part of in different capacities. And sometimes I get a little excited about it. So if I get going too fast and you want to ask a question or want to slow me down, that's okay. You can do that. Eric did say I had the next hour and a half to shoot. No, I'm just kidding. Not that long. But I wish there'd be so much we could fill that time. We're not going to take that long, obviously. So we've got 38 schools we're looking at in Aspen Peaks. 24 elementary schools, 6 middle schools, junior highs, 6 high schools, and 2 specialty schools. This comes as no surprise, over 34,000 students. As we go into some of the considerations with doing a boundary study, I want to tell you a little bit my personality. I like to go into things with eyes wide open. I want to know what I'm getting into. So I'm going to share some things, some pieces of considerations that may sound negative or these are going to be hard, or you shouldn't do it, and that's not the message I'm trying to share. It's, hey, these are challenges you're absolutely going to face, but they are surmountable, and you can come out with really great end results. But recognizing that as you go into it, you're going to face them, address them, and the earlier you address them, the better. So some of those considerations, we've identified 5 main criteria. If you've listened to any of the boundary meetings, I talk about these 5 criteria. I'm a broken record with them. They really are encompassing of most of the considerations in the boundary studies. Not all encompassing, but they encompass a lot, and you'll see that. So the first one there, I think number 1 really, impacts on educational programs and outcomes. How does a boundary change impact those educational outcomes? That's what we're here for. We're here to help students succeed. So how does it impact the special education services and potential classes at those schools? How does it impact regular education instruction, the special programs like DLI and ALL? In addition, school capacity utilization over time. So it's easy to say something like, well, let's balance enrollments. Let's make all the schools the same amount of kids, the same enrollments. It sounds easy, it sounds nice and simple, but schools are built differently. We know that. So we look at the school capacity and how are we utilizing that and how are you utilizing it over time? So not just right now, but looking into the future so we can capital plan what do we need 1, 3, 5 beyond years for what we need to have. So those enrollment trends and projections. That third bullet point there I think is important to consider, especially in schools that have declining enrollment. That minimum number of students for that collective efficacy and grade level collaboration. When we get too small and we have 2 or heaven forbid 1 class per grade, there's no critical mass for effective collaboration and that collective efficacy. So we find at least 3 classes per grade. So with 3 classes per grade, you're generally 550 or upper 500s in enrollment. Now that is assuming an even enrollment throughout all grades, and so there's some assumptions built in there, which is why this whole presentation is a 60,000 foot view of the boundary study. And when you get into it and you start to get down to the 30,000 foot or the 10,000 foot, there's additional pieces you've got to absolutely consider. And these are some of them, obviously. In a school that has ALL, or excuse me, specifically like DLI, sometimes there's additional nuances with the collaboration. And so 3 classes maybe have some additional challenges. If you have 2 DLI classes and 1 non-DLI class, you have some challenges with basically only 1 class per grade at that school that's non-DLI. And we're not going to get into all the nuances of it, but there it would bump up the numbers a couple hundred kids potentially that you're going to want to look at. But that could be a struggle you have in certain instances. And then a common misconception is that second to last bullet point. We hear comments, and that's one. In fact, if you listened, I commented about it on Tuesday when we presented for the recent boundary study. A common misconception that I think we can do better, and I'm going to use we very liberally, so I would encourage with you at Aspen Peaks to help disseminate the information that larger enrollments does not equate to larger class sizes. And the flip side of that is smaller enrollments does not equate to smaller class sizes. Often people feel like, oh my gosh, our school's going to be so big and that means our class sizes are going to go up in the same relative amount. And we recognize, no, that's not how FTEs are allocated. That's not how our teacher to student ratio. And so that's a common misconception. However, with high enrollments, you have other challenges. You have lunchroom. It's only so big. Playground's only so big. And you can only handle so many people on those.
Parking, drop off, pick
And
up.
that's, you hit up the one that's not even listed there, absolutely. The pickup and drop off and the congestion there. So those are things that doesn't mean all because we can have a high enrollment means we should have a high enrollment. There's other challenges there. Proximity to school, if it'll update, I'm getting Jake's problem here. So if it doesn't update, there we go. Proximity to school, most families like to go to a school that's closer rather than one that's farther away, just in general. So generally people like to have that close proximity. Keeping neighborhoods and communities together. So you have your established neighborhoods and develop friendships, but you have growing communities, developing neighborhoods. And we try to keep those together in boundary studies. We recognize the relationships that people have in their communities. And that community, second bullet point, current school community. Like Eric mentioned at the beginning, families love their schools. What a great challenge to have. They don't want to leave their schools. And if we can minimize the disruption for those boundaries and for those families and for those schools, that is wonderful. If also you want to consider things like a city boundary. Sometimes board in the past, the Alpine School District Board has wanted to draw the line on the city boundary to keep that city community together. And other times, other priorities have been higher. And then there's feeder paths. Obviously, if we can have students move from one school to the next school together, it keeps that community, those friendships together. There's a challenge there, as we know. We have 4 junior highs in Aspen Peaks, actually 6 junior highs and 4 high schools. So you don't have a 1-to-1 ratio. In addition, those junior highs or middle schools aren't located in the same location as the high schools. And so when they're in different locations, to have pure feeders, you run into a challenge potentially with that proximity to the school. So there's just challenges in there. Again, not to be negative. This is not insurmountable. These are just challenges you'll face. Impacts on transportation. What does it do for school buses? Where are students transported now? Where are they eligible to be transported? Where are potential heavily trafficked roads that we're not going to ask elementary kids to cross? And so we're going to have to fund that transportation for those elementary students. And parent accessibility. Jason mentioned earlier the pickup and drop off time. Absolutely. What does that look like? What's traffic flow or volume and traffic patterns getting to and from school? So how does that impact them? And that last almost hidden bullet point probably shouldn't be hidden, because in an ideal world we meet all 5 of those criteria perfectly. If we did that, things would run smoothly. It would be wonderful. With rare exception, do we really meet all 5 of the criteria? They're competing criteria with a tension between one another often, and there's challenges of deciding which criteria is going to take precedent, which one's going to be more important in an area. And more often than not, I would say it's not that one simply takes over, that criteria X is much better than criteria Y, but there's a balance between them. And so that's a struggle that you'll have as you go through the boundary study process. So those are the 5 main criteria. Now we're going to get into a 60,000 foot view of the schools in Aspen Peaks. I'm going to show you a lot of numbers. You don't have to write them all down. There's no quiz at the end. We'll share this presentation with you afterwards, so you can even reference it as you want. So as we look at this, the areas that I've broken it down into are a little arbitrary. I've broken down, we're going to start in the American Fork area and work in kind of a counterclockwise direction. The areas that are broken down into are not hard fast. So the first area, for instance, that we're looking at with Barrett, Forbes, Greenwood, and Shelley. And if we leave you in suspense long enough, there'll be a map that appears. But you would notice on the map that's not there, the north end of American Fork is Legacy Elementary. And Legacy Elementary wasn't included in these 4 numbers. As long as the rest of the numbers show, I'm not going to worry about the map right now. We'll keep moving along here. But could you absolutely, if you wanted to look at those 4 plus Legacy and break it down and do a boundary study with those 5 together? Absolutely. I'm not saying, there it is. Look at that. That was a lot of suspense. And probably a little anticlimactic. But Legacy Elementary could absolutely be pulled in. Or could you even pull in Deerfield into this study, even being from Cedar Hills? Yes. So don't look at these areas as, hey, Derek said these were the perfect areas to look at together. So as we look at these 4 schools, we got to remember Barrett Elementary straddles the district boundary between Aspen Peaks and Timpanogos. So Barrett's projections go from 482 in 2027 to 417 in 2030. But there's 73 students currently that live in Pleasant Grove in Barrett's boundary. So they would be in the Timpanogos district. If, we're making some assumptions here, if we pulled those 73 students and they got reboundaried to Mount Mahogany Elementary, to Timpanogos School District, you see the bottom there where Barrett's projections go down to 409 and down to 344. So we'll do that for the schools that are straddling. You'll see that in a moment for Deerfield and Cedar Ridge as well. So using those new numbers with that change, and wait for it again, the suspense is there. I can feel it already. Anyway, the Barrett's new numbers hopefully will come up soon. We're going to try something here. We're going to try real quick switching, and I'm going to try showing. We'll see if it comes up any faster doing it this way. Okay, so here we go. These are the new numbers with Barrett, and you can see there that in 2027 that new 409 going down to 344. But with those 4 schools, we have some lower enrollments, with the exception Greenwood growing. You know Greenwood's growing, especially in that front runner area is where a lot of that growth is. So the total numbers there going from current year 24-22 for this school year, growing up to 25-20 in 2030, or even looking at the 27 because that's where we make the adjustment with the Barrett numbers. So 2372 growing up to 25-20. And looking at that, we can say, nope, it didn't solve the problem. It didn't go to the averages. Any second now, we're going to hit up the averages. I can feel it. It's coming.
There's a lot of anticipation today.
I know. There we go. Okay, so currently there's 4 schools. Now, I am not making a recommendation or saying there's a discussion of closing a school in this area. We're just providing some data here of some averages so you can see if you kept those schools with the averages they are in 2027, 593 going up to 630, or if there was a consolidation without bringing in any other schools as part of that, just using those 4 schools, there's where the averages would be, being at 791 going up to 840. So I'm going to emphasize that again right now. This is not a recommendation to close a school. This is for your information, here's averages. If you go into that process, you're definitely going to want to pull in other schools. There's going to be a lot more involved. So then we're going to move on to the Cedar Hills area. So we have Cedar Ridge and Deerfield. Deerfield has a big chunk that's in Pleasant Grove. Cedar Ridge has a small little piece, all of 2 students. And Deerfield, though, has 131. So you pull that 133 kids down to, say, Manila in the Timpanogos district, and there you can see Cedar Ridge going from 615 to 572, and Deerfield essentially staying steady just above 300 kids for that 2027 to 2030. Using those numbers, more of that anticipation. I might need to start clicking like 10 seconds before I know the next slide. I'm not sure. But the averages with those schools are going to be about, it starts in 2027 at 462 and drops just a little bit to 439 by 2030. And then there's, love for you to be able to see here the total, that it starts at 924 and drops to 878. So if, again, not making a recommendation, there it is. If you were to say combine those 2 without pulling in any other schools, Highland, Barrett, whatever, I'm thinking of schools nearby, right? You'd have 924 kids with a slight decrease to 878 by 2030. Or if you wanted to balance out those and pull some kids, reboundary, pull some kids from Cedar Ridge to Deerfield, you could try to get to that the mid 400s. Let me mention here, try to get, I said that, because it's an average. It's nice to say, well, this is perfect. We'll get all the schools to the perfect average. Well, boundaries don't always come out to the perfect averages if we're trying to have proximity to school, if we're trying to keep neighborhoods together, if we're trying to do all these other things. So remember, the average is the, I don't even want to say the ideal, it's simply the average of those enrollment numbers. The next slide that is going to come up maybe is the Alpine Highland area. So here we have 6 schools, and it came up so fast, I even clicked fast. But Alpine Freedom, Highland, Legacy, Ridgeline, and Westfield. And you can see there, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, there are the numbers for those 6 schools.
Question.
Yes,
so why did you
Amber.
include Legacy here instead of with AF, because it's in AF?
That is a great question.
And it
You
feeds,
put me
it
on the
feeds to
spot.
AF Junior and AF
Either
High.
way.
There was a reason, and I'm blanking on it right now, but it goes back, I'm glad you asked the question. It goes back to, again, it was an arbitrary.
Okay. It just feeds to AF Junior and
Yep.
AF High, and all these other schools feed to Lone Peak.
Yeah. So great question, and you could pull it either way. And I think, in fact, when we did the presentation, a similar presentation a few months ago, we had some of the schools that were included in multiple
Amber said Legacy's in
areas.
Highlands.
Much of the students that attend Legacy live in
Right, but
Highland.
the school's in AF and it feeds to AF High.
Yeah. Which goes back to the feeders. They aren't pure feeders in the area, and we'll come to part of that issue when we get to the middle school high or junior high, some of the challenges there. And so with that, you could pull any schools to any of the boundary studies if you wanted to cut down to the sub areas and say, hey, let's pull Legacy and do it with the American Fork schools. Absolutely. I'm not
I just
suggesting against it or anything.
I just
So-
wondered if there was a specific reason it was included one way versus the other.
No, I'm blanking on why I did. I'm sure I had a reason at the time. Maybe it was a flip of a coin. I can't remember. I apologize.
It's all good.
So then the averages, you weren't getting an HDMI cable by chance, were you?
Yeah, we're working on it right now.
Okay, great. I'll take it whenever you've got it. So the averages, once they come up, and with 6 schools in 2027, it's 550 and it drops to 517. So for the average for those 6 schools, there it is. Or if you went down to 5 or 4 schools, again, looking at the 4 schools and in the 800s, you got to keep in mind with some of those schools, they're built differently than other schools. So not all schools are going to handle 800 kids the same way. Then we move to the North Lehigh area. Wow, lots of anticipation. We have Belmont, Eagle Crest, Fox Hollow, Liberty Hills, Sago Lily, and Traverse Mountain. And there, we just skipped the map, that's okay. So these are essentially the schools that feed into Skyridge. I probably took Amber's advice. I changed it real quick. In fact, you didn't see me real quick to pull it all in there.
Made sure they were true feeders.
But you keep going. I'll keep going with the presentation, and if you want to switch it to the HDMI anytime, that'd be great. So with these, in fact, I'm just going to jump down to the next slide, and we'll see whenever it updates. But you can see some of the differences. Liberty Hills is growing, but most of the other schools are either declining or remaining relatively. Like Traverse is relatively constant, 727 to 714 over those 27 to 30. With the averages, any moment now. But the averages, they start at 691 and 27, and they remain pretty constant to 673. Or if you went down to 5 schools, they're in the 800s, and if you went down to 4 schools, it's above 1,000. So it's information, again, I am definitely not recommending, hey, let's set up every school on average at 1,000, because that's, again, if it was perfect average, you'd have some of the schools are definitely pushing it there. Click down again. So we'll go to the South Lehigh area that has a beautiful map that we're just going to skip so that hopefully things load soon here.
We have some affinity for it.
You know, if we'd gone to printing and had them print some maps for us, we would have been golden. You know, we would have been stable. So, but with the South Lehigh area, so you have 6 schools in this area. 5 of them have been part of a boundary study this year. So we've got North Point, River Rock, and Snow Springs. They were part of the boundary study with Lehigh. The 3 changed. Lehigh didn't change their boundary, but were part of that study. Then you got Dry Creek that just changed on Tuesday, and then Meadow Elementary that has not been part of a study. I'm sure are just dying to be part of one. But
They actually did talk to me.
I should be careful.
I
That could be taken out of
context.
Those 6 schools are there in that area, and we'll get this back up because I want you to see the averages for this one. So as you know, there's been discussion with, especially with that North Point, River Rock, Snow Springs area, that do we build in Cold Spring? We have the property there. Do we build an elementary school there? Do we consolidate and close a school somewhere else? So we'll go down. Here we go. So
Tell me the 6 schools again. I missed one.
yeah, you bet. It's Dry Creek, Lehigh, Meadow, North Point, River Rock, and Snow Springs.
Thanks.
I won't tell Jory that you forgot Snow Springs. No.
Come on,
Tell
Amber.
Jory I
That's
did
where my
not
kids
forget.
go.
So with these 6, you notice is in the middle. Because of that discussion of do we build, do we consolidate, if we keep it as is at 6, there's your averages. In 2027, 795 out to 835. That's if we leave boundaries as is. Or there could be a boundary change, it doesn't change the total number, and you still have the same average. Or you could close one school and build a school. Still same number of schools, 6, so same average. Jean Marie's giving me, okay, Derek, I got the math. You can move on. So,
Sorry.
no, I kid. So the 5 schools, if you close one,
I've studied these ones before.
yeah, it's your area. So
Right,
it's
totally.
part of that is, yeah, absolutely. And Jason, your area as well. And so the 5 schools is if you close one without building one, and obviously the 7 is if we add a school. If we built a school but not close anything. So you see we're down in the 600s, going up to 715 if we build a school without closing. Or the flip side of that, we're going up by closing a school with no build. You're up to about 1,000 kids on average if they were all evenly averaged. So now we're going to go into the secondary. Secondary is going to be much faster here because all of the junior high and middle schools are on one slide. We have 6 of them. You can see all 6 here. The one that sticks out, I don't know about you guys, but Mountain Ridge sticks out. Kari's here. She understands this very well as the principal. Mountain Ridge is lower than 1,000 right now and declining. In comparison, there's some schools that are higher. We got AF Junior High, Viewpoint, Willow Creek. Willow Creek will lose some students with the district change, but there's not an exact projection we have, but I mean, imagine 100, 150, maybe in that range. But remember, for the first few years of the district split, secondary students have some possibility to continue to go to schools from their previous, like where they were boundaried before. So Willow Creek's numbers are as if no district split right now. So they might be a little bit lower. It'd be one to watch. Oh, we're switching to.
Hey, but
Okay.
it looks really good right there.
Oh, okay, it's over here. So So Willow Creek's one to watch. Mountain Ridge, you can see the averages at the bottom that are kind of hidden. Now you can't see the averages with 6. You're in the 1400s down to 1375, and if you were to consolidate, again, not the recommendation, it's data, just the averages, you're in the 1700s down to 1650 with the junior highs.
Do you know
So-
what the current out of area number? Oh, never mind.
Wait, no, ask the question. Ask it again.
What are the out of area numbers at AF Junior right now?
I failed miserably with that legacy question. I'm trying to repeat myself. So out of area from the Mountain Ridge area. So these are numbers of students. Some of it's hidden at the bottom here. Let's move this.
Yeah.
You can see some of the numbers.
They're up here now, Jared.
Oh, great. Okay.
We're back.
We're back. So with this, you got the numbers, the total enrollments at the top, but these out of area students are students that attend AF Junior from the current Mountain Ridge boundary. There are about 25% of those students who live in Pleasant Grove, so in the Timpanogos district. But again, recognizing that secondary, can they go to the same schools? That would continue potentially through 2030, so we've left those numbers in there just for this purpose.
But they would have, I said this at Deerfield this morning and they were shocked. But their guarantee from the state is to the school they're boundary to, not to the school they're out of area at. Correct?
Yeah, so yes, and so there's some nuance in there exactly.
There's some nuance there that's going to be a little bit tricky.
How much do you allow them to continue to go out of area,
Right.
potentially from outside the district, from potentially just outside the boundary that they were in to begin with?
Right.
And so that goes into the next slide here. If this is, again, data, not saying this is the way you have to do it, if you were to phase out those out of area students, and what I mean by that is saying, hey, American Fork Junior isn't going to accept out of area students from the Mountain Ridge boundary beginning in 2027. Now, again, hypothetical. If that was the case and we said we're going to start with the 7th graders, so if you're already an 8th or 9th grader that was already at Mountain Ridge or already at American Fork Junior, great, you get to continue through your 9th grade year and go through that. If we started and phased in with 7th grade and then 7th and 8th the next year and then 7th through 9th and 29 and beyond, you can see the numbers there that it bolsters Mountain Ridge's population a little bit. So it gets them back up above 1,000 students, and it takes American Fork Junior down a little bit, that they're getting down into the 1400s. So there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things that would have to be discussed as part of that, of hey, can we restrict that? How can we restrict it? Does it do the end result of what we want? And what is the end result? Is it helping with the educational outcomes, and is it doing it in a way we want to do it? So those are discussions that obviously would have to happen. Any more questions on the out of area here?
I love that we have you here. Very useful, helpful. Yep.
Chime in.
So the high schools, there's 5 high schools. Excuse me, 4 high schools, 5 lines there because the bottom line is the total. And the average of the 4 is in the 2300s. You can see they're fairly consistent. I didn't even put in 3 because if you were to consolidate, which I don't think is on anybody's, like you'd be above 3,000 kids at each school. So
Pass.
Hard pass.
noted, yes. Another check to get back from
We don't have
Amber
room.
after the legacy debacle. All right. So there's your averages. So now Eric alluded to the online tool that we wanted to talk about. Last month we shared with you that spreadsheet that's on the left side. It's great. It was something we put together. There was sometime we can talk about the backstory of me sharing that last month, but that's another story for another day. We have been developing, Jared Brunner has been great at coding. We've had Justice Thomas from Transportation be part of it, and as I've worked with them putting together this online tool and saying, here's the things we need for a boundary study. And it's going to be something that I think is, like Eric said, it's going to change the way we do boundary studies and allow for a lot more robust brainstorming and looking at these. So this is real quick, some snapshots here. I met with Jason Sundberg yesterday morning and shared with him some of these screenshots. He shared them with the Timpanogos board yesterday, and I feel like you'd be left out if I didn't share them with you. So we wanted to share what we've been developing as this tool for you. Just to give you a heads up, we anticipate it being ready to share shortly after spring break. So a little more anticipation. That's the theme of this, right? It's anticipation, I guess. So what we see here is the boundaries for Deerfield and Manila. And we see the blue line that's going through there is the district boundary line, which also happens to be the city boundary line that curls up. And you know why the city boundary line curls up there, another story for another day.
Yeah.
But off to the side you can see, hey, how many kids attend Deerfield? This is a snapshot from a couple weeks ago from Skyward data. So 476 is a couple weeks ago, and their breakdown of K through 6, as well as Manila, and you can see the numbers there. So similarly, with Barrett and Mount Mahogany, and the numbers, you can see the breakdown, and it's more than just, great, we can see what the numbers are there. I can get that from Skyward. So then we say, okay, we've got a little area here. That area we'll just pick on. I'm going to zoom into that area, and we can use a little selection tool, or an insight lasso, it was called here, and we can lasso that area up, and it'll tell us how many kids live in that area from any school and what grades they are. And so you say, great, well, we can see there that there's, and I realize it's really small, maybe you can't see on the screen here, but 17 kids from Barrett Elementary. And I'm like, well, I could do the math for Barrett at 17, 497 minus 17, carry the, okay, 480 kids left. We go, well, there's a better way to do this. I can go in and I can draw and change the boundary in that area. And when I change the boundary, it'll recount the students, and it'll tell us, great, yeah, you had 497 students, there's Barrett's, and yes, it's really tiny. You took out 17 of those students, you have the 480 students left, and here's how many students we moved out of that area. And now that 17 doesn't sound like a lot of kids, but when we start moving the boundaries in multiple places or larger places and start counting these numbers, this will be great to do it on the fly, to have numbers so we can brainstorm. And as much as I want to be helpful, and I have no problem ever asking or ever answering the questions of, hey, Derek, how many kids live in this area? Absolutely happy to answer that anytime. There are times where I'm sure you're like, I want to know right now. And you could use this tool and say, tick, 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 tick. Okay, there's 17 kids that live in that area. And there's not an apartment complex or a whatever area that, oh, there's 150 kids. Well, we don't want to make this change or that change. Now, maybe not the best example here because we're talking about the district boundary, but you can use that on the fly. In addition, I just pulled up Freedom because we've talked about pure feeders. So Freedom Elementary is our classic example of not a pure feeder. And so we can also pull up here and have an overlay of some different layers. So the layer we've got on here, we've got Freedom in that big purple polygon, and then these dotted lines going through are the high school boundaries right now. So we can turn on high school, junior high, elementary boundaries and be able to see both at the same time. So if we say, hey, great, I want to align these feeders, what happens if I pull over to the high school boundary and align it there? And again, that analysis that way. So I think this will be a great tool to be able to use that will be accessible. It's an online app that will be shared with select individuals because you got to log into it. Obviously, we've got data there that we don't want out in the general public with some student data, but the online app will be a great tool to use to be able to brainstorm, to do quick calculations, to do that. Now, what this is not for, before we get like, hey, this is going to solve all of our problems, this is the 10,000 foot view. I used to call it higher up, but it's true. It gets us down a little closer. It's not ground level. So before we make final decisions, this isn't the one to make the final decisions with. This isn't the one to look at the special programs or special ed classes or things of that nature. So this will get us to, here's a rough idea of how many kids would be in these areas. I think it's potentially a viable boundary. Now let's look at some additional things. How many classrooms does this school really have? What special programs? What are they using their classrooms for, et cetera, et cetera. So using that, I think, will be super beneficial. So with that is the fire hose of here's some information about a district-wide boundary study.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. That was awesome.
Who did you say created the app? The online?
So I've worked with Jeremy Brunner Bruner, excuse me. He's assistant principal at Thunder Ridge.
Okay.
And so he and I have worked closely on it. Justice Thomas from Transportation's been part of it as
Okay,
well,
so
but
it's
we've
just kinda team effort.
gone through and to
Jeremy's
build
a big
it. So
spreadsheet data guy.
yeah,
He's a
Jeremy's
good
been
data
great
guy.
coding.
That's
So,
awesome.
Eric's given some contributions too. I gotta, you know.
Round of applause for you for that.
Good job.
Derek, thank you. We appreciate you
Wow.
taking time with
That
us
was
today.
really
That was
helpful.
very,
Yeah,
very helpful.
no, that's great.
Now, we want to just talk through just a little bit the timing and things that we're looking at. So we asked this team to help us to provide this information as is on the table for today's board meeting. There's a discussion item with regards to do we consider a district-wide boundary study? Do we consider what are we looking at elementary? Are we looking at secondary? Are we looking at everything? That's part of the discussion that we'll have today in the board meeting. And then if the thought would be, if this is something we are going to pursue, timing-wise, it would make sense in the next board meeting we have to have that as a possible action item, whatever the board decides they want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we done? Or do we have other things that people want to bring up? Any other thoughts or?
Aren't we bound by what's on the
Well, we are, but we actually have
I
a few
still,
more minutes
I
to
still
talk
want to
about
sing happy
boundaries
birthday
and
to the
enrollment.
birthday girl.
That is so not on the
So
agenda.
that is what
I think,
Do
I
it.
think we should pencil that in the agenda.
Okay, hold on. Any other thoughts that anyone wants to talk about or ask about boundary and enrollment? Man, you guys are just brutal. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Our study session is now adjourned. The time is 5:11 p.m. And we deeply appreciate everyone's contribution to us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Board meeting of the Aspen Peak School District Board of Education will now come to order. The time is 6:00 p.m. and all board members are present except Nikki Brammer, who is enjoying herself. She's going to try and, on a vacation, she's going to try and Zoom in. We'll see if she can. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Brianna Hugh. Please rise.
Okay, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, Brianna is also going to offer our prayer or reverence. Brianna.
Okay, so first of all, I have to just say, I am so used to middle schoolers doing that pledge. We are not slow. It's like we get through it fast. Okay, so I was thinking a lot about what I could share today, and honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was a Shakira song, because my students, we're in the middle of writing essays, and with the no cell phone policy, I get to play music for the whole class, because that's how we do music. And I asked them, I was like, okay, what do you want on your playlist? Has to be school appropriate, everything. And one of my students was like, early 90s boy bands. Then we got like all this, so it's a very interesting mix. But I started listening to this song again, Try Everything, which is one of my favorite songs. And as we started going through it, I was like, this is a really inspirational song, but it's Shakira. So I decided not to do that because it's Shakira. But it's also Dr. Seuss month because it's Readathon month and we celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday. So I wanted to read a couple of my favorite Dr. Seuss quotes about reading and about education and all of that. So these are some of my favorites. It says, sometimes the questions are complicated, but the answers are simple. I love that. Read, travel, read, ask, read, learn, read, connect, and read. It's better to know how to learn than just to know things. And this is my favorite one because I think we as teachers and parents and everybody who's involved in the education system knows this, that unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's just not. And I think that as we think about moving forward as a new district with our same kids, we want to make this process seamless for all of them, but also help them all remember that we care about them more than anything else. So that's it.
Thank you. That was wonderful. We do not have any community comments, so we will move on to the next item of our agenda. Next up is approval of minutes for the February 19th, February 24th, February 26th, and March 2nd board meetings, and the February 26th study session. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes for the February 19th, February 24th, February 26th, and March 2nd board meetings, and then also for the February 26th study session.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Board Member Bonner and a second from Board Member Thieler to approve the minutes from February 19th, February 24th, February 26th, and March 2nd board meetings, and the February 26th study session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. We will now move to routine business. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, in your folders, you have the expenditure detail report and claims for the month. We would recommend that you approve the routine business.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the expenditure detail report and claims for February?
I move that we approve the expenditure detail report for February.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Board Member Sparty and a second from Board Member Hart to approve the expenditure detail report and claims for February. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The voting has been unanimous. Next up is a discussion-only item, consideration of a potential boundary study. Dr. Perkins.
Yes, we had an excellent presentation today by Derek Farnes, one of the operations team's members, and really a good discussion, and it will be available. The details of that discussion, the PowerPoint and whatnot, will be available on our website for the public to review. But at this time, we would recommend a discussion of consideration of a potential boundary study.
I'm glad that the PowerPoint will be on our website, because I would encourage our community to take a look at it. And I think one of the things that I came away from that is there's some really interesting details and information and patterns and that are good. But I think it also, because it's from a 30,000 foot level, I think it also at least kind of spoke to me that let's find out more, right? This was excellent information from a broad, comprehensive standpoint. But there were enough interesting things in there that we should investigate that I think it's a good idea for us to pursue something a little more strategic and detailed. So, and I'm glad that it's on a website, and I would encourage our patrons to take a look at it, and maybe they'll come to a similar conclusion that there are some interesting things in here that probably should be investigated a little bit more.
So for me, I'm really supportive of us starting to do a boundary study district-wide. I was at Deerfield Elementary this morning, and there's a lot of concern and upset there because such a big percentage of their student body no longer will be living in our district. They don't live in Aspen Peaks district. And so, but they're not the only school that's dealing with that. Barrett has that problem, and so does Dry Creek. And so I think it's a good idea for us as a board to look at what those impacts are going to be like at each of those schools and what options we might have for them. But also, so we have more information as we go into looking at those items. So we're ready to go talk to the other districts and see, like, are there some kids that will be keeping, a certain section of kids from any of these schools? Are there kids that, that don't want to stay with us? I just think there's a lot to look at in all of those areas. And I also think something else that I would really like to look at is a lot of the schools in Aspen Peaks have been around for a long time. And the community around that the schools are in has changed a lot. Like, I look at that new development going in immediately south of Lone Peak High, and that used to not be there. And Lone Peak's almost 30 years old now, and a significant chunk of its boundary was not built when the school came to be, I guess. And so I think it's probably worth looking at, do these boundaries make sense, or were they just kind of added on as new houses were built? Would it be better to have this neighborhood that's kind of in between two schools, which place is really the best place for them? What are people already choosing? We have areas where people aren't choosing to go to the school they're boundaried to. We should look at why and see if we need to fix that. So I'm really supportive of doing a boundary study. I think this is a good time to do it. We have time to do it before the district splits, so we can, be really methodical and make sure everybody's had a chance to give input. So I'm supportive.
I would also like to speak in support of it. One of the best things about having a smaller school district is that we get to just concentrate on that smaller area. Alpine, whole district boundary study would have been pretty crazy with how large it is. But with us being a smaller district, we just have those 4 high school areas. We just have the 6 middle school, junior highs. We have an area that we really can concentrate on and see what is best. I love some of your points, Amber, about how dynamics have changed, communities have changed. But I also loved looking at the numbers and being like, oh, this one area, their average size is 400, where this other area, the average size for the elementary school is 1,000. So we can, for a long time, I think with it being such a large district, you did your best for the whole general area. But now we have this area that we can say, okay, what's best for all of us? We can concentrate on our whole district and do what's best for all students that way. So I'm in support of it.
Yeah, my thoughts on this, I like all the things that have already been shared and the importance of it. If we're thinking of it in terms of the, how it's done, because I know that's a big ask to do a lot of boundary studies, especially with the presentation we had from earlier. My thoughts on it would be that if we were to do it, to go with elementary first as a place, if we had to prioritize how this was done, because that seems to be the one that has the most impact. And then look at, excuse me, middle schools and then high schools. Just prioritizing where that might be and just thinking of some of the potential schedule down the line impacts. So that's my thoughts on it. For the boundary study, I think we should prioritize elementary schools just because I think there's a lot of moving parts. Might need a bit of time for that. And then go to the secondary afterwards.
I just want to say I appreciate our operations team, especially Eric Woodhouse and Derek Farnes for the work that they put in, and they created this really great tool that gives us a lot of insight into some of the boundaries, and we can kind of play with them and move them around. And I thought it was really awesome. They just had made it in the last couple of weeks, and as we look at the boundaries, it's not so much about like level loading a school or trying to make sure that every school has the same amount of students, because not every building can fit the same amount of students. And so I'm in support of this boundary study because of just all those factors that we need to take into account as far as like the neighborhoods that have changed and the size of the building and what the projections look like over the next couple of years. And I think if you end up looking at the PowerPoint presentation, one of the things that I'd invite you to look at is the considerations that our operations team has put together. They have 5 considerations that they try and take into account, and I'm not going to list them all here, but look through those, because those are things that are all that we take into account. We try and get as many of those considerations checked off as we can as we do the boundary study, but anyway, at some point, one of those things has got to give. And so anyway, look at those considerations, and if you have concerns or questions, come to the board, but I approve the boundary study for the district-wide, especially in the elementary schools. I think our high schools, there might be some small boundaries we need to check, but the elementary schools we definitely need to go through.
Thank you. Eric, did you have a comment you'd like to make?
Yeah, I think as you consider the potential of a district-wide boundary study, I just want to clarify a few things for the public too. Just because you open a district-wide boundary study doesn't mean you're necessarily going to take action in any of these areas. But when you do formalize a district-wide boundary study, it does allow us as an operations team to start to, and Jason talked a little bit about this, it really is a 60,000-foot view. And when we start getting into it, this tool will allow you to take like a 10,000-foot view and start looking at some of those boundary adjustments. But then as we start figuring out what schools we can do a deeper dive into, then that tool will allow us to start figuring out where we can really point my team at doing a deep dive in. But one of the things that's common nationwide, it's not just unique to Alpine School District currently, is that you're going to have declining enrollment. And that's going to continue to happen year over year until it starts to stabilize, but we haven't really even seen that start to stabilize either. And so as a district, when you start to develop your 5 to 10 year capital plan, you really are going to want to start to look at these boundaries on a yearly basis and say, are we being responsible with our resources? And being responsible with our resources means we are looking at those boundary adjustments to make sure that we are capitalizing on the buildings that we do have and making sure that there is that collective efficacy that Derek Farnes talked about before, that we're offering really good educational environments for these kids. And sometimes when you only have one teacher per grade level, it becomes really difficult to really capture that collective efficacy. So that's really, as a board, defining what your why is behind why you're doing these boundary studies. That goes back to what you were talking about, Steve, as far as those competing criteria, right? And making sure that we're addressing that why and just being very intentional about why we're doing the boundary study and being very vocal to our public and helping them understand that in each one of these areas. And so I think it would be wise for you as a board to open up a district-wide boundary study to take a look at that.
I had one more thing I was going to say. I've also heard from a lot of parents concerns about schools where there's a really small area of that school that goes to, whose feeder pattern is different than the rest of the schools. So like there's a small number of students from that school that will now go to a different junior high than everybody else, and how hard that has been for their kids when that happens. And so I'm hopeful as we look at some potential boundary issues that we can also fix some of those. We know that some schools are going to have to go to multiple schools, but I'd really love to see us not have a situation like that Freedom is in, where they split to 3 junior highs and, you know, multiple high schools and 4 junior highs and 3 high schools. And that's just really, it can be really hard on kids if you're in that little percentage that only 10% of your school goes to, you know, the next level together. So I'm interested in also seeing if we can fix some of those little pockets. And so I think it's a good idea to look at it, whether or not, as Eric said, we end up actually changing things or not. It would be good to look at it and see where we're at.
One last thought. By necessity, when the districts is splitting, there are 3 really interesting pockets that we have to do. I mean, it's almost like we have to do a boundary study for some of those in the PG, Cedar Hills, American Fork, and then in the Lehigh and Saratoga Springs. I mean, we just have to. And so it would be wise to consider how other schools would be impacted or could mitigate some of those things we already know will likely happen at those pinch points where the districts meet, and there's those kind of those interesting city boundaries. So
I had one thing I wanted to add, that I think as a general population, until you really dive into it and look behind it, it's really easy to assume that a smaller school is better, or that if you have a larger enrollment at your school, that means that the class sizes will be larger, and that is not a given. That is not the case. For instance, I was at North Point when we had 1,400 students there, but our class sizes were small. And so it's easy to think in your head that a larger enrollment means larger classes, or conversely, that a smaller enrollment means smaller classes, and that's not always the case. Something that really captured my attention was that a school can be too small. So not even enough students to make one class in a grade level. So that would mean that every grade level is a split. And so kids do not come in the enrollment in equal numbers for each grade. That's another thing to take into consideration. So I'm just throwing that out there. There are so many things to think about, and it's easy to fall into the thinking that a larger enrollment means larger class sizes, but it does not. That's not a given. And conversely, smaller enrollment does not mean smaller class sizes. So we have a lot of things to think about, and I appreciate everyone's discussion here. Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is appointment of our inaugural business administrator for Aspen Peaks School District. I have one statement that I want to read before we get into that. Yesterday, an administrative communication from Alpine School District inadvertently included the name of our business administrator candidate and an announcement of their appointment. We want to be very clear that no appointment has been made to this point, and that this inadvertent communication in no way preempts what we are doing here tonight. With that, we will get on with the excitement. Aspen Peaks School District is thrilled to move forward with nominating a candidate to be voted on for our open business administrator position. And after a thorough search, we would like to present the name of B. Tweedy as the inaugural business administrator for Aspen Peaks School District. Do we have a motion?
I move that we appoint B. Tweedy to be our business administrator in the new Aspen Peaks School District.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
We have a motion from Board Member Sparty and a second from Board Member Burrows to appoint B. Tweedy as business administrator of Aspen Peaks School District. We will now open it up for discussion, and I would like to go first. As a board, we are in charge of hiring just 2 positions. I've had a lot of people since yesterday at 10 o'clock say, way to go on your cabinet. I did not hire those. Our board did not hire those. That was Dr. Perkins' purview. As a board, we hire superintendent and business administrator. And for months, I would say since we first got sworn in 2 days before Thanksgiving, we have worked on getting these positions just right. We feel as if we knocked it out of the park when we hired Dr. Perkins. And over the past almost 2 months since Joel Perkins was appointed, I have not heard anyone say anything negative about our choice. That speaks volumes. We were looking for the same broad support for our business administrator. In addition to impeccable skills, we wanted someone our community could trust. We wanted someone we could trust. And we wanted someone who would work well with Dr. Perkins, although he makes it pretty easy. We believe we have hit another out-of-the-park home run with B. Tweedy. It has been my responsibility and my honor as board president to check references, and I found myself in the exact same situation. Everyone I spoke to holds B. Tweedy in the highest regard. B. Tweedy is not only brilliant in her chosen profession, but she also has a warmth about her and a genuine way of expressing herself that draws people to her. It was extremely important to us as a board to have someone who could interface with the public and explain complicated finance issues in a way that engenders trust and support. We are thrilled to say that we have found all of that and more in B. Tweedy. We will now open this up for further discussion.
I will gladly go first. Like not coming from the education background, like there's a lot of people that I'm not familiar with. And so like a lot of the people that we interview are new to me. When we interview them, that's the first time I meet them. And I was just really impressed with B. One of the things that's been a big concern for me is some of the truth in taxation things and making sure that we explain things so that people can understand them. And in B's interview, she said, I will meet with anyone for as long as they want to meet so I can help them understand. And I really appreciated that because I'm in the position where I don't fully understand it. And I'm like, oh, B, I will be the first one to take you up on that offer, so I appreciate it. So I really appreciated just her candor and just how she comported herself and just a lot of the experience that she had financially. That was just a lot of the things that we really looked forward to or looked forward in the candidate that we were selecting. And I just feel like we got the best. So thanks, B.
So I am also in the situation where, though I am in education, I didn't know B very well. But in our interviews and all the things that interactions I've had with her, it's been very positive, and I think she matches a lot of the criteria that we're looking for, all those criteria. And the thing that has also impressed me is whenever her name has come up, everybody's like, oh, B. She's a great person, and that I think says a lot for us as we were looking at our business administrator. So I'm really looking forward to having B as part of our team.
So like Steve, I was really excited when B gave her presentation to us about truth in taxation because in another position I hold, I've been asked lots of times to give classes on education finance, and I always start out with, it's so complicated, you guys. It's so complicated. So ridiculously complicated, and I feel like after 10 years of following it, and I used to, before I ever even considered running for school board, I would sit down with Rob Smith and be like, I don't understand this. And he would be like, well, you're not the only one. So he would explain stuff to me and I would say, this is so confusing. And one of the things I really appreciated about Bea in her interview was she was explaining truth in taxation to us, and she said in the middle, this is still kind of confusing. I'm thinking of ways I could make this less confusing. And I thought, that's what we all need when it comes to finance. We need less confusing. But another thing that I really, really liked about Bea, that she has spent a significant amount of time in schools as a finance secretary, and even helping set up a couple of schools and helping them. And when I talk to finance secretaries at my schools, sometimes they have a very unique perspective on the school and on things that are happening, and they interact with parents a lot about things that are sometimes upsetting, because parents are like, why is this much, or why didn't my payment go where it was supposed to go, or whatever. And so I'm really appreciative of her ability to interact with parents and with teachers and with administrators. That's a big job, finance secretary, to be able to do those things. And I really love that she has that experience and that she's bringing that experience to this position, because I think it's going to be really valuable. So I wholeheartedly am in support of this.
I'm going to continue to say some of those very similar things, but I love that Bea is a great person, first of all. You can tell that she's just a great person. And the letters of recommendation, everything, everyone always has a smile on their face when you say her name. And I love that. I love Bea. I'm like, do you love this, that we're just doing all these like nice things about Bea? It's great. We should do this every meeting, like choose someone random and just say all the nice things about them. But Bea, like, she's done it all. She's been in the private sector. We know that she's brilliant in her trade, but she's been in schools. I love that you have that background with PTA, that you were just a PTA mom for a while, and you used your talents that way. So just an overall great person. I'm gonna go back to this truth in taxation. I went into all these interviews thinking, okay, like 6 years ago, Rob Smith came to my elementary school, and he taught us about education, finance, and it was the very first time I ever kind of understood it. And my friends and I walked out and we're like, wow, okay, we got that spark of interest. We kind of understood it, and we went and talked to our friends about it. And so I came into these interviews being like, I don't have a tall order. I just need Rob Smith in a different package, like another person who can explain that so everyone understands it. And when she was teaching us about truth in taxation, I couldn't help myself, but I asked her a question in the middle of it because I was so into what she was saying. I was understanding it, and I wanted clarification. And that is like exactly when I knew, like, wait, I just raised my hand during an interview and asked her a question during her presentation. She gets it. She knows how to teach others about what she knows. And we're in the education field right here, right? We want to learn. We want a teacher at the same time. So I full-heartedly support having Bea as our business administrator.
I'm just going to pick up right where Jean Marie left off, because I've known Bea for quite a while, and she and I have sat shoulder to shoulder, usually me here, my Bea in the middle, and my secretary on the other side, and Bea going through and just training both of us. And on multiple occasions, Bea would just sit between us. What questions do you have? Let me explain this. I would ask questions, and my secretary would ask questions. And Bea was always so kind and thoughtful, knowledgeable, and just so pleasant to work with. And that's probably why the district had her training secretaries, school secretaries, for years. And so between all of the other experiences that she's had, for me personally, she helped me and my school secretary on multiple occasions be better at our job. And I'm grateful to her for that. And I know my school secretaries were too. And to have her be able to help us all kind of move along together, and because there will be some complicated things, even more complicated than normal, as we try to split up these assets and try to sort things out. And I'm just so confident that B will find a way to help us sort it out and make it digestible, so that a principal and a secretary can figure it out, and she'll help us all in that path. So wholeheartedly am excited to have BB be part of our team.
If I could just add just a brief statement here as well. First, I want to thank the board for allowing me to participate in the hiring process, in their hiring process of B. As I thought about what I would say about B, B's amazing. I have complete trust and confidence in B. But the thing that I just have to say is everyone loves B. And as you go around and you talk, if you say B's name, the first thing anyone will say to you is, I love B. It's the truth, and I think it's remarkable not only for not only as a testament of her character and her strength and abilities, but I think it's also a testament of the fact that she's over budgets currently. The person over budgets everybody loves. Now, how does that happen unless you're a remarkable person? So B's amazing, and I'm very, very excited for the opportunity to work with her.
Thank you, everyone. I think you can all see how we feel. But seeing no further discussion, I think we need to vote. So all those in favor of appointing B. Tweedy as Business Administrator of Aspen Peak School District, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, please say no. Please note that this motion has passed unanimously. We are thrilled to have B. Tweedy as the inaugural Business Administrator of Aspen Peak School District. Let's give her some applause. We believe B is the perfect person for this position, and B, thank you for your willingness to serve our district. At this time, I invite you to join me up front for the oath of office. That?
I got
Okay.
it.
I need your right hand free, so there you go. B, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, B. Tweedy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Thank you. By the authority vested in the Aspen Peak School District Board of Education, I now declare B. Tweedy officially sworn in as Business Administrator of the Aspen Peak School District.
Thank you.
Another round of applause. Trade me. Let me have that one. We will now be signing 2 copies of the employment agreement. We have the official agreement that begins on July 1st, 2026, and an interim one. So here we go. I think she's used to signing her name. right, B. On behalf of the board, congratulations and welcome. We're excited to have you on our team as we work together in service of our students, our staff, our families, and community. Let's give her another round. We will now hear a few comments from our new business administrator.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Few thank yous that go around. I want to thank my team and just all they've taught me and encouraged me since I've joined the business services team. It's been an incredible ride. And I want to also thank Superintendent Perkins for making one more phone call. And the board, this has been the most pleasurable, and you can see why, but it was the most pleasurable interview experience I've ever had, truly. Every time, I've told a few of you, every time I walked in to do something that could be considered pretty stressful, my emotions just calmed immediately. So thank you for making that such a wonderful experience. I want to thank my children. Some are here, some are not, but they keep cheering me on. And also my husband, Darren, who just sticks with me by on each adventure. And I'm thankful for your support. Little did I know, it's been 20 years ago that I started and said yes to being a PTA president, and I didn't know it would lead to this. So be careful when you're volunteering for PTA. But I did. I experienced I experienced the elementary schools from that perspective. I experienced middle and high schools from a financial secretary perspective. And I've experienced this from on the accounting team and the budget team. And I've enjoyed every single ride. And I'm looking forward to joining the Aspen Peaks team and helping this be a successful school district for parents, families, and most of all students. So thank you again for your vote of confidence tonight. So.
Okay, come join us for a photo. All right, we're going to have a Kodak moment. Wow, this is looking good. We
She
started
gets to
out-
sit by Jason and help him some more.
Oh, that's a good optic.
Yeah, keep
I
an
must be
eye
the
on him, would
secretary
you?
now.
I just told her, I said, I don't bite unless I'm get really hungry, and she's promised to have snacks to just
Wait, then I want her to sit by me.
give me snacks under the table here, and I'll be fine.
Oh, we started out up here kind of lonely, and now look, we are a full house, and we are, except for we're missing Nikki, but there you go. She's here in spirit. All right, welcome. Our next part on our agenda is board member reports. Does anyone have anything they would like to share?
I'm going to share something. So we had a boundary study that closed on Tuesday, and it affected one of my schools. My school, okay? The school that all of my kids have gone to. And It can be highly emotional, lots of feelings, but I just want to say thank you to the operations team. They are phenomenal. They are great, and I'm glad that we locked in at least one of them for sure this week as well. How they handled stressful situations, stressed out parents, emotional parents, even students that were nervous about changing schools. They did an incredible job. And I want to say one more thing, and that is how excited I am for our cabinet positions that were announced just yesterday. As soon as I saw the list, I did a couple of like, yes, yes, yeses. And I'm just so excited. And I've loved walking around schools the last 2 days and having everyone tell me, like, good job. And do you know what? They say good job, and I say thank you. I don't say it was Joel. So I'm going to admit that publicly. I just say, yeah, I know. We did awesome, huh? So thank you. I hired him for him to hire good people, right? So it's kind of me? Yeah. But I just want all of them to know, a majority are here tonight, and I just want them to know how excited I am to have them on our team.
I want to say this similar thing. Yes, Jean Marie, it's because we hired Dr. Perkins, so we get to take all credit for everything good that happens from here on out.
Absolutely.
Just kidding. Anything bad is not us, but anything good is. Anyway, I'm totally kidding. But I just wanted to say I was thrilled to have our cabinet level people announced yesterday. I've had the opportunity to work with several of them closely, and we have such a great team, and I'm so excited. Also, I'm excited because I was telling people that, I think I've said this before, that I think for a lot of the community right now, it looks like we're like just ducks on a pond and we're just gliding quietly and we're like furiously paddling underneath, even though you can't see it. And I'm thrilled to have more paddlers, and I'm thrilled to have departments start getting set up and us to be able soon to start answering some of the very, very long list of questions that people have that will hopefully help our employees, both those that are coming to us that don't know yet if they'll be assigned to Aspen Peaks, and those that will for sure be in Aspen Peaks, to know how much we care about our employees and how much we care about our students and our community, and that we want only good things from this. And so I can't wait till we have more in place to be able to answer more of those questions. And I'm thrilled with the team we have assembled to start doing that. So thank you.
I'd just like to add on to that. In my job at BYU, I am in a unique position that today and tomorrow we're hosting the Literacy Promise Conference, and my department is in charge of that. And 1,000 educators from Utah County and a little bit beyond, some up in Jordan and Canyons in that area, are all together. And it has been so fun to watch the handshakes, the hugs from the Lake Mountain people, from Timpanogos people, from our Aspen Peaks people that are embarking on a new adventure, and how people are just legitimately and sincerely excited for one another, regardless of the 3 districts that they're in. And it's just been so fun to see that today, as these little pockets of current Alpine School District people are just so excited for one another, and to have the chance to be part of something fun and opening this new district, and that they look forward to working with each other through these 3 districts. And we make sure that this is an amicable, equitable, exciting thing where all 3 districts feel like they're going to be in good hands and they're going to be working together. And it was very edifying for me as one of the people who was just walking around, making sure everything's okay. It was so fun to see these pockets of people just celebrating together. And some, sadness a little bit as well, because they are currently side by side in their positions, and then next year there'll be some distance. But just that excitement about continuing on and being part of something really neat. So it was fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more tomorrow as our conference continues.
I was just going to say, how many interviews did you do, Dr. Perkins? Like 60 plus?
I don't
So
remember
you
at
lost
this
count
point.
after the couple score of them. So I just am really appreciative of Dr. Perkins and the team that he is assembling. You know, as the announcements were coming out and we were looking at those positions that were being made, I was like so thrilled with the people that were coming in, and there were a lot of people that I knew, and I was just so excited for like what we're looking to build here in Aspen Peaks, and there was like. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with our board. I couldn't be happier with our superintendent who we picked for BA. Just is all coming together, and I'm so excited to be part of this team. So that's.
Yeah, I also just want to add on to, because I'm so excited for who we have joining us and what the team, the A-team that Dr. Perkins has been able to, that's what we should call it. The A-team, Aspen Peaks, there we go. So we have our A-team, and I'm really excited for that, with that, and I think we're going in a great direction. I'm really hopeful with where we're going, and just want to thank you for joining us and being willing to join us in this journey that going somewhere great, and we're getting there.
I hope you can feel the camaraderie that we feel for each other and the wonderful spirit that exists in our board. I have to tell you, I have a unique observation point as the person who checked references and had to do all of those employment tasks. It was a delight, and I am so impressed with how the candidates supported each other. It kind of brings me to tears a little bit. Several candidates over both positions, superintendent and business administrators, several of them applied against each other for the same position, but they wrote letters of recommendation for the other candidate. And I have never seen anything so beautiful as that. And as I talked to people who did not get a position, they were genuinely thrilled for the person who did. And kudos and hats off to the Alpine School District team for working together so beautifully. I'm in awe every day of what Alpine School District is doing for us to launch 3 strong districts. They don't just say that, they mean that, and I feel it from every person, and I am so grateful to be a part of this. People say to me all the time, "Are you hanging in there?" And I say, every day I find out something I didn't know that I didn't know, but we figure it out, and then you go to bed and feeling pretty good, and the next day there's something you didn't know that you didn't know. But it is an honor to be a part of this, and I want you to know, and I hope you have felt it from every person here, how grateful we are to have a small part in this, and how much we pledge that we are doing our very best, and we want to represent all of the employees, all of the teachers, the staff, every patron, every parent, and especially every student, because we understand that if we take care of our teachers and our staff, that we are taking care of our students, and you have that pledge from us. There aren't enough specifics to share with you yet, but I hope you can feel from us the full measure of support that we have for you and the excitement we have moving forward.
Thank you very much. Let's meet them, shall we? Let's bring them up. I'll introduce them, and they can come to the stage, and just make a line up here. Nobody sits down until we're all done and we get a picture. So just be aware. Okay, we'll start first with our associate superintendents. Our chief of schools, Doug Webb. Please join us up here if you would, Doug. Our associate superintendent, chief learning officer, Eric Woodhouse. Chief Talent Officer, Cammie Harper. Assistant Superintendent Secondary, Kevin Henshaw. Assistant Superintendent Elementary, Brady Rowley. Assistant Superintendent Student Learning, Carrie Shirk. Our Chief of Staff and Strategic Engagement will be Dr. Rich Stoll. We excuse him this evening. He had another engagement. We also have with us today Executive Director of Technology, Paul Lewis. And Executive Director of Elementary Schools, Sam Rencher. We're going to take a photo here, but before we do that, I just want to indicate the official start date when we have these individuals full-time will be July 1st, 2027. However, all the superintendents have agreed to a transition plan in which they will start to help support not only remaining in their ASD roles, but they will start supporting us as well as we move forward. So let's get a picture. Alan, you take a picture for us?
As a kindergarten teacher by profession, I came into this knowing that we were all going to play well together in the sandbox. And let me tell you, I don't even have to remind anyone. We are playing together well, and I hope you feel that. All right, as there is no further business, do we have a motion to enter closed session to discuss negotiation and personnel issues?
I motion that we end and enter into closed session.
Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion by Board Member Thieler and a second by Board Member Bonner to enter closed session to discuss personnel and negotiation, and litigation issues. Excuse me, I did not read that correctly. Can somebody, Jason, will you redo that? Personnel, property, and litigation issues.
I move that we enter closed session to discuss
Personnel,
property, and litigation issues.
and my second. Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Thieler and a second by Board Member Bonner to enter closed session to discuss personnel, property, and litigation issues. This requires a roll call vote. Board Member Sparty?
Yes.
Board Member Bremer is absent. Board Member Bonner? Yes. Board Member Hart?
Yes.
Board Member Burrows?
Yes.
Board Member Thieler?
Yes.
Board Member Knight? Yes. The motion has passed. We will now enter closed session at 6:54 p.m. Is that right? All right. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a delight.